It is a compelling headline. North Korean train delivering ballistic missiles destroyed in Siberia. It would be an operational masterstroke for Ukraine in a war already full of Ukrainian operational masterstrokes. It would seem to solve one of the biggest problems that Ukraine currently faces. And it seems, as of now, to probably not be true. However, audacious special forces operations are often born out of ridiculous ideas that teams of dreamers then figure out how to make into reality. And so how Ukraine could make this happen is the central question for today. Let's rewind. Ukraine is struggling with stopping incoming ballistic missiles. There are not very many good defensive options here beyond the Patriot system, but interceptors are in short supply worldwide, and the United States is unwilling to open up its vault with the ongoing conflict in Iran. Consequently, the best alternative Ukraine has available is to preemptively strike Russia's ballistic missiles, either the launchers as they are about to deploy, or the production facilities as they are making them. The former is difficult because the launchers are mobile. The latter is difficult because Russia tucks its production outside of the western section of the country. But the biggest problem of all is an apparent agreement between Moscow and Pyongyang. Now it is not just Russian missiles that are battering Ukraine. It is also North Korean missiles. As difficult as the options are to destroy Russian ballistic missile production, the options to destroy North Korean ballistic missile production are worse. We have discussed before the tyranny of distance. The creative solution is to sail some naval drones near the peninsula and have quadcopters start seeking some targets. But even ignoring all of the other operational problems that could arise, this is not Operation Spiderweb. You are going after hardened buildings, not fixed-wing aircraft sitting exposed on the tarmac. Hence why there was a buzz within the war-watching community on Friday, when rumors surfaced that Ukraine had struck a North Korean train full of ballistic missiles. It seemed to be an elegant solution to the aforementioned problem. If destroying the production facility is prohibitively difficult, then simply wait for the missiles to be bundled up. They have a nasty tendency to explode, so all you have to do is knock over the first domino and then watch a fantastic fireworks display. According to the rumor, Ukraine did not wait long to make its move after the missiles had left North Korea, destroying the train about 6,000 kilometers from the front lines. You can see why Ukrainian special forces would want to make it that way despite the distance. Russia and North Korea only share a small border. If you know that North Korea will be delivering missiles by rail, then you know that they must pass through here. Once the train turns the corner, you potentially lose out on that consistency if Russia is willing to take it off the main line of the Trans-Siberian Railway. There is just one problem here. There are no reliable indications that this operation actually happened. Now, to be clear, there are no reliable indications that this operation did not happen. But usually the burden of proof falls on the new item occurring and not on Team Nothing Ever Happens. The original source appears to be a Telegram post from a Ukrainian mill blogger citing anonymous officials. And in our brave new media world, where splashy headlines get clicks and individual reporters do not face institutional problems if they make false or misleading claims, many others jumped on the bandwagon, creating the perception within some online communities that this was established fact. But then the weekend passed. No mainstream media was willing to report on it. Russia had nothing to admit about it, and Ukraine had yet to officially claim it. Let me be clear. I have no independent information on whether this actually happened. I think it is generally a good idea to be cautious in the current media environment. It is strange that Ukraine would not have publicized the attack given the excited but narrow media attention that it received. That is how it would get real media attention, not just discussion within the pro-Ukraine echo chamber, the type of media attention that sways public opinion. And maybe Ukraine has some operational security concerns, which is why the government remains tight-lipped. But then again, it is still odd that mainstream reporters have not found anyone in the government excited to leak last week's big win. Okay, maybe operational security is really good in Ukraine on this one. A few dozen ballistic missiles on top of an exploding train would be quite the sight to behold. How has no one from Russia posted images of it on social media yet? Maybe the location of the sabotage was remote, and maybe there is also strong operational security on the Russian side, with concerns about revealing the extent of the damage, details about a military train, or specifics regarding how North Korea transfers ballistic missiles. All of this is possible, but you can see how the accumulation of all of these points ought to lead to a fair degree of skepticism. Nonetheless, maybe we are focused on the wrong question here. Maybe the more interesting question is not whether the attack happened, but rather how Ukraine might go about attacking the North Korean missile program by attacking trains. As a starting point here, the specific rumored attack would be difficult to accomplish. Bombarding a railroad track by itself is not all that difficult. There are literally thousands of kilometers of tracks available, and there is no feasible way to monitor that much territory all the time, especially since much of it sits in Russia's deep wilderness. The only trick to that part is getting operatives into the region. But we already know that they are in country based on the sabotage operations that have occurred elsewhere. Well, the difficult thing is getting into Russia, not moving around once inside. It is therefore safe to conclude that Ukraine has friends everywhere within the Federation. Moreover, the further you get from Moscow, the fewer locals care about what is happening with Kremlin politics. It would not be unreasonable for Ukraine to hire quiet help in the far-out regions of the country. And there would certainly be poetry to it. The Kremlin has effectively been using citizens from the East as mercenaries for years now. It is also not that difficult to time the detonation to coincide with an oncoming train. You literally only need a remote detonator and a way to monitor the tracks. Press a button, and that is it. Heck, we know Ukraine is good at timing these things on much more difficult operations. Recall that the most destructive attack on the Crimean Bridge involved timing a truck to explode as it was near a fuel train on the parallel bridge, so as to ignite that fuel to cause further damage. A stationary bomb against a moving train is a much easier operation. I should also underscore the importance of the train component of the strategy. There is often a misperception that a sabotaged railway is a massive logistical nightmare for the target. Well, it can be, but if all you are doing is blowing up a section of tracks, the repair time is a matter of hours. In fact, given the location, it might take the repair crews longer to arrive on scene than actually make the repairs. That is why hitting a large train is so critical. The goal is to derail and pile up the train over the tracks. Success here means more than just a few hours of a patch job. It means a serious demolition operation. Every component needs to be dragged or lifted off of the rail line. Only then can rail crews get to work with the easy part. Still, there is no guarantee that this will set back the target more than a few days to a week. The critical thing to keep in mind is that you do not need a complete cleanup of the site to get the trains to run again. The rest of the cleanup job can be done as trains pass on new rails. And with a war ongoing, you can imagine that Russia will not mind taking a few safety shortcuts. If you really wanted to slow down Russia's logistics, then you would be looking at bombing a bridge. Certainly, there are a bunch of options available. But as we have seen in Crimea, small bridges can be patched quickly, and larger bridges are hard to completely take down. Hence the focus on bombing just any part of the rails with a train on top of them. In fact, Ukraine claimed it committed such an attack, albeit to much less fanfare, last November, roughly in the same Far East location as the alleged operation last Friday. What you are watching is a video package released by Ukraine to showcase the attack. But note that this is a train. It was not a particular train full of North Korean weapons, and there did not seem to be any long-run problems with the line afterward. Hence the importance today of trying to destroy the missiles themselves. Indeed, hitting a specific train, and a train coming from North Korea no less, is a much more difficult task. You would need to know that the train has been loaded and will soon be crossing the border. How would you know a train like that is about to depart? The best way would be to listen to the discussions happening in Moscow. Ukraine could have someone on the inside relaying that information. Alternatively, this is a good task for signals intelligence, and the United States has dominated Russia in that regard dating back to the start of the invasion. Indeed, that appears to be how the United States was so adamant that an invasion was about to happen at all. With the US intelligence community still working with Ukraine, this could be a part of regular packets shared between the parties. Then we can look at the other half of the equation, Korea. South Korea obviously has people trying to break into Pyongyang's intelligence network, which is just a bit easier linguistically and culturally than it is for Ukraine to try. On one hand, Seoul will not exactly be sad to see ballistic missiles leave the peninsula. However, remember that North Korea is doing this for its economic benefit, and in the long term, South Korea would prefer it if Russia viewed North Korea as an unreliable partner. So it is possible that South Korean intelligence could pass along information to Ukraine. That might narrow down the window to a couple of hours. From there, you could put a spotter ahead of the target location to monitor trains passing through, wait to mark the correct one, and then relay the signal to the detonation team. The alternative is real-time tracking with satellite surveillance. Basically, only the United States is capable of doing this. The CIA and the Pentagon are watching North Korea already, and you would think that a train getting loaded with a bunch of ballistic missiles would draw plenty of attention. Heck, given all of the rumors swirling about North Korean assistance to Russia, it is possible that surveillance would locate the train before signals intelligence got tipped off. And to make matters easier, North Korea and Russia only share that aforementioned narrow land border, with a 600-meter rail bridge separating them. Watch the bridge, and you will see any train packed with missiles going through. From there, it is again just a matter of relaying the messages to a Ukrainian team. So yes, this would be a plausible way to handle the problem. Ukraine claims to have done something like this before. The only difference is timing the attack to hit a particular train, which is only a step more difficult from before. Whether Ukraine already has or will do this soon, though, is above my pay grade. Meanwhile, what is not above my pay grade is writing excellent books about the start of the war. That is basically my self-respecting academic alter ego's job description. Check the video description for more information about them. And if you enjoyed today's video, then please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care.